This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
This house shall increase the tax rate in agriculture sector. Honorable, did you justify how differently you're going to price legislate? Yes or no?
I beg your pardon?
Did you justify how differently you will price legislate?
Yes.
You did. Can poor quality goods compete with good quality goods in world market? Yes or no?
They don't.
They don't. Give statistics on the current registered commercial farmers in the agriculture sector.
According to you, you said 38% of these commercial farmers
are we in an economic crisis?
Yes, we are in an economic crisis. That's why we're
Don't you think that the grandmothers you talked about that sell goods to companies will face economic inflation?
They don't earn 10 million.
They will not. Thank you very much. Do farmers need profits?
Yes, they need profit.
Do factories get raw materials from farmers, commercial farmers specifically?
Yes,
they do. Thank you. Do you believe in value addition?
Yes.
You believe in value addition. Thank you, Honorable. You can take your seat. My dear judge, what do you realize in this debate? One, they came here and they said that they're going to press legislate, my dear judge. On this very point, my dear judges, we came up and told them about the vanilla saga, my dear judge, about how the government of Uganda had press legislated the prices of vanilla, my dear judges. They did not tell us how differently they're going to press legislate so we can prevent the riots, my dear judge. We can prevent the riots and all the negative impacts that came along with price legislation in vanilla prices, my dear judge. That's a loophole in their case, my dear judge. To continue, he accepts that poor quality goods cannot compete with good quality goods in world market. That's why opposition is catering is giving out the smart option, my dear judge, of improving agriculture sector, my dear judge, rather than taxing it, my dear judge, because we believe that as of current, as we gave you the statistics in Kenya, my dear judges, our neighbors Kenya rejected our maize, my dear judge, due to poor quality. So therefore, poor quality goods cannot compete with good quality goods on market, my dear judge. To continue, my dear judge, we are in an economic crisis, so we don't see why you should raise these prices, my dear judges, because you know these industries that you're talking about, the factories, my dear judges, like Madivan, of course they need profits, my dear judges. So what will they do? They'll also have to hike my dear judges, these farmers will have to hike their prices, because now you're increasing the income that is earned by these factories, my dear judge. So these factories will beg for a reduction in income from the farmers, yet the farmers need profits, my dear judges. So look at the problems that policy is bringing on table, my dear judge. Second, some of the questions were, my dear judges, that he believes in value addition, my dear judge. The mere fact that he believes in value addition, he believes in team opposition's case, because for us we want to do value addition so that you can increase, so that the prices of our products, my dear judges, can be removed from the ones that they are on right now to the higher ones. Why? It's not because we are going to tax, but it's because we have added value to these products, my dear judge. And once we add value, we expect higher prices. My dear judges, the reason why we said that policy is so insufficient is because that it brings problems like economic inflation that we talked about, my dear judge. We told them about economic inflation. They came up and talked about price legislation. Now, to look at that, price legislation causes more economic inflation, my dear judge. So how are they going to control this problem of economic inflation? Because the opposition is controlling this problem by improving the products, by improving the quality of the products, so they can get market on the world, so they can get market in the world, my dear judge. Secondly, these products that we are having, they are having low market they're having low market, my dear judge. So with low market, we see zero profits. Actually, we see low profits, my dear judge. So how are they also going to control that problem? Because there is low quality, in fact, my dear judge, low quality of these goods. How are they going to control this problem? Because this is one of the major problems agriculture sector is facing, my dear judge. My dear judges, team opposition comes out and says that for them they want to increase the tax rate in agriculture sector, but they don't know how many commercial farmers, my dear judges, are registered in the agriculture sector, my dear judges. So with all this said, my dear judges, allow us to remind you that the problems are economic inflation, my dear judges, and low quality of these goods. Team proposition should come out and prove to us how increasing the tax rate in agriculture sector is going to solve these problems, my dear judge, because because with the solutions we can be able to solve the problems in status quo. With all this said, I raise our case for team opposition.
Resolved. First of all, Speaker, do you understand the meaning of presumptive income tax? Yes or no?
The meaning of?
Presumptive income tax.
The meaning of?
Presumptive income tax. Nevertheless, I ask, where and when are you going to get the money from? Where and when are you going to get the money you're going to use to support the
Of course, Honorable, we told you about how we are going to differently solve corruption, and we believe that we are going to get the solid money, my dear judge, and will be used in our strategies.
Is there a difference between 40,000 and 1 million, yes or no?
Is there?
A difference between 40,000 and 1 million, yes or no?
There's no difference because they also have impacts on
Thank
lives
you.
of these people.
Are you aware that our strategy fights corruption, yes or no?
You did not tell us how, so I cannot believe that that strategy fights corruption.
Would you sell off your economic resource to an amount less than 50,000 of 10 million, yes or no?
I'm sorry?
Would you sell off your economic resource to an amount less than 50,000 of 10 million, yes or no?
If it's of poor quality, I don't believe it can reach 50,000.
Are you against raising revenue through tax, yes or no?
Depending on the current state of agriculture sector, I'm against it with all my heart.
Thank you. Does it make us a good investor if we gain from our source of funds?
Does it?
Does it make us a good investor if we gain from our source of funds?
For correction, it
Yes
makes you a
or
bad
no?
one because you have low quality goods in your source of tax.
Is it right for someone who earns 30 million to pay 40,000 shillings as presumptive tax to
I'm
government,
sorry?
yes or no?
I'm sorry?
Is it right for someone who earns 30 million to pay 40,000 as presumptive income tax, yes or no?
What is presumptive income tax?
I'm coming to that. What is your counter solution to satisfy the urgency of funds in the current status quo?
What is?
What is your counter solution?
Improving on agriculture sector, of course, as we told you before.
Thank you. Will your alternative raise revenue to government within 1 month after implementation, yes or no?
Will?
Will your strategy raise revenue to government within 1 month after implementation, yes or no? You may take your seat.
Thank you.
Now, dear panel, they do not understand the meaning of presumptive income tax. We say that presumptive income tax is this tax that is charged on someone's income after the costs and the expenditures. Dear panel, meaning if I am an investor and I'm taking back 10 million back home, according to the guide of taxation of the agriculture sector, you are estimating that they tax for only 0.4% of 10 million. Dear panel, this means that if I told you earn 10 million, you're going to pay 40,000 shillings to government, but you ask them, is that fair? They don't give us an answer. Dear panel, we ask them their source of funds and when are they going to get their source of funds? Meaning, if at all they don't have the time they are going to get their source of funds, meaning they don't have the time when they are going to support the commercial production of the agriculture sector. And dear panel, if they don't have a place where they're going to get their source of funds, then they're not going to be able to satisfy their strategy. Dear panel, we come and say that the World Bank and foreign aid was taken away from Uganda because of some political reasons. But dear panel, if we look at this, we have the need and urgency of money right now in Uganda, and the solution Team Negative is bringing to us is supporting the agriculture sector. And we all know that agriculture sector right now has been subsidized, meaning actually they have been babysitting it to support this commercial production that they have been looking at. But if I look at all the time it has been subsidized, dear pan, we're saying that it has been raising at about 1% or even less to government revenue. Dear pan, these are reasons as to why we say that we have to tax the agriculture sector. We say that it employs 70% of Uganda's population, meaning it can raise the funds to pay. And dear pan, what does it take from someone who earns 10 million to pay just but 1 million? What does it take from someone who earns 150 million to pay just but 15 million? Apart from them taking away from us and exploiting from us, and at the end of the day, we are not gaining. So, I beg to rest my case.
In this particular debate, the resolution was this House shall increase the tax rate of in the agriculture sector. We all understood it to be largely of a policy debate, meaning burden of proof on team affirmative, giving us the rationale for engaging in whatsoever increment of tax, giving us the different stratifications of the tax rate, giving us the tax burden, who is going to bear the tax burden. And I want to thank you for being a bit very detailed and informative and to the point on those, because this was a strategy. This was a resolution that put a heavy burden on you in terms of strategy and content. Now, the major arguments in tonight's resolution were Team Affirmative coming up with a point of agriculture being the largest sector of the economy, agriculture contributing most of the revenue of the economy, but agriculture by and large being the most underwhelming sector with regards to tax rate in the country. Team Negative, however, came and told you, Team Affirmative, that in the end their burden of refutal is refusing your strategy because it is not a more effective way of achieving of taxation and tax revenue. How? When you tax the agriculture sector, you're going to frustrate the big boys, the profit earners. They are going to pass on this increased tax. They will pass on the incidence of the tax to the consumers. We will have things like inflation. We will have them either dropping out. And I think part of the stratification of your strategy was taking out the low income earners, because that would have been a potential bomb. But you said 10 million and above. Now, personally, I wanted a much more detailed version at how you're arriving at 10 million and at what incidence or what percentage of the agricultural tax stakeholders will this tax be incident on. Because they come and tell you that actually the big boys in agriculture, commercialization, the commercialized agriculture, actually only occupies about 38% of the entire industry. Meaning, therefore, that if you increase these taxes, you're still being underwhelming, because you're going to tax, by and large, a figure close to 38%. What of the rest of the sector?
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to begin by appreciating both teams, Team Affirmative and Team Negative. Thanks so much for putting up such a wonderful debate. Thanks so much for the efforts that you always put in. Thanks so much for the levels of research. Thanks so much for understanding the speaker roles, the team roles, and then the given type of resolution that is before you. Credit to both teams that you were able to understand the resolution that was before you in tonight's resolution. Second, I want to begin by crediting Affirma 3, Affirma 4, Negator 1, Negator 2, Negator 4. Thank you so much. You people really understood the roles that you are meant to take up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what did we have in today's debate? In today's debate, we have a team affirmative that has a policy of increasing of taxes on the incomes of companies, which they called the presumptive income tax. Then on the other side, we have a team negative that brings up a policy of diversification of the economy. A team negative that's saying, no, we are not against taxation, but what should we do? Should we diversify this economy or this agriculture sector from a subsistence agriculture to a commercial agriculture? Now, ladies and gentlemen, in any debate that you are before, if your opponents bring at any point of time points that kill the quality of your submission more so in a policy debate, and you leave those questions or you leave those clash points unanswered, it is more of conceding to their case. What were my points of judgment? One, we had a team negative that looked at increase of quality of the commodities. Which team negative or which team affirmative did not respond to? One, for me, like their point of, like when you ask them about the source, they told you literally the money is there. It is a matter of just fighting corruption. One of the houses you brought was the IGG, and then they told you, according to the current status quo, we have seen very many cases of corruption. The IGG has felt that it is not independent. That's why for them they advocate for an independent IGG.
I first want to cite a few things, just one thing for the first speakers from either side. I know you have a lot of things to do in that round, in those 4 minutes, but there are requirements in a debate that you just can't leave. And for both of you, from the first speaker, yes, you tell us everything and how everything will work for you. The only thing you don't answer is, among all other things, why do you want to increase taxes for the agriculture sector as a sector? And yes, and for the first speaker of the negative team, you tell us how impossible it is. You don't actually tell us how impossible. You tell us Uganda has a huge debt burden, low revenue collection, a lot of dodging of taxes, and you fail all that in perspective. You fail to create for me a nexus that with all this in perspective, it is almost impossible to rely on that tax system in this characterization to collect taxes. I feel like both speakers, first speakers, you need to do more in creating a nexus of what you believe to be true and why you believe it to be true. Now, that said, I got that analysis from from the following speakers that followed you guys. Team negative suggests that if you solve corruption, then you can get that money. Corruption was never, how you solve that corruption is not really explained in detail from team negative. And realize here that from the onset, the case given by the affirmative team is one that recognizes there is corruption and we shall involve the IGG to fight such corruption. So I felt like it is, one, a weak point for you to argue that you will get money from fighting corruption so as to fund your building of a large tax base. But also, Team Affirmative does a huge role to show you that whatever you call increasing the tax base is already done through parish development model and other things.
Thank you so much, the teams that have debated. I would like to appreciate your level of debate. And indeed, this is quarterfinals. If we try to compare when we started in first term, there's a lot of improvement. Congratulations. However, I have a few remarks. Both teams have debated well, apart from few hiccups here and there that you still have time to improve. Most of the remarks have been given by my colleagues, but in a debate, when you hear the bell sounded, you don't have to run away from the stage. My best speaker was in Team Affirmative was the third speaker, but immediately had the bell, he just dash off. Please, at least in few seconds, try to conclude. Team Negator also, good time management. We need to improve on time management. When you hear the bell, yes, you need to go, but conclude. So I want both teams to learn from that, learn to conclude. Also, cross-examination. Don't ask questions for fun, but make sure that you respond to those questions and let the House understand. Try to convince the House that your team is the best. And on your speaker team's roles, like their farmers have burdens of proof, the degators, yes. But now, when questions are raised, make sure you respond to those questions.
Thank you. This was a very good debate. However, I am going to depart my decision or my judgment from the rest of the judges. How? Team Affirmative, I commend your first speaker and the fourth speakers of all sides and the third speakers of all sides. However, the second speaker you did not rebut. However, moving on, first speaker, you did a commendable job. Honestly speaking, Team Affirmative, you have the most marks in my judgment on content. You had a lot of content, and I commend you for that. You had statistics and all that. You gave us your argument. Your argument was, we are not entirely going to tax the entire agriculture sector. However, we are going to tax companies. Now, you gave a beautiful strategy, and where I'm going to go to where I drew my line from. Your biggest question to Team Negative was, where are they going to get the funding? Where am I saying that? Everything else you said, they rebutted. You asked them, where are they going to get what? The funding. However, Team Negative answered you and said, there are huge problems of corruption in the country, but we are going to do what? We are going to make sure that the bodies, because your strategy for combating corruption, because they also brought it up, your strategy for combating corruption was, you're going to come up with the IGG, which were your bodies. However, they told you these bodies are already in place, and they have not been working. You told them that was their rebuttal to your point of corruption. Their rebuttal was, these bodies, they are corrupt because they keep on depending on each other, and they end up being influenced by what? By government ministers. So they say that is where they're going to get their funding from. It wasn't fully satisfactory, however. Now, moving on. Team Negative asked you, because their strategy was, there is no need of increasing the tax rate because Uganda is already struggling. However, even if we increase the tax rate, when at the end of the day we are exporting poor quality products, we are not going to get money. So their entire argument was, increase or improve on the quality of the products, because that is what is needed. They told you that yes, in your strategy you're coming up with taxation. However, there are various cases of tax evasion in Uganda. They even pointed out to you that there is barely any commercial farmer that is officially registered in the government registry of farmers. There is barely any commercial farmer there. However, you did not rebut that. You did not, because your entire strategy was backed up by taxation. So at the end of the day, if people are going to evade the taxes and not pay them, at the end of the day, if as the government you're not even having these commercial farmers that you're saying you're going to tax registered, how are you going to earn talking about? I gave both of you 16 for style. On content, I differed because Team Affirmative, your content was great. I gave you 27 and I gave Team Negative 26. For strategy, I gave Team Negative 29 and I gave Team Affirmative 26, totaling up to 69 for Team Affirmative and 71 for Team Negative. It is not a unanimous decision. It is a decision of 3-2 that Team Affirmative takes the day.